Hi, everyone. Welcome to Talks with Gallagher. Tonight is a special broadcast. I am just so thrilled to have Chris Dowling with us. He is a producer, screenwriter, actor. He is known for the movie Run the Race, Priceless, and Where Hope Grows. And he's also a founder of Undignified Productions. And we're going to talk about tonight his upcoming movie, The Man from Nowhere. And Chris, you were, from what I saw on IMDb, you are the screenwriter and producer of this movie. And so I'd like for you just to share with us, how did this movie come about? And yeah, and then also, in your own life, you've moved from California to Texas and all of this, and a lot of transition happening in your life, and somehow you managed to write a screenplay and produce a movie. So can you just share with us just like, how did this come about?
Man, that was a lot. I don't even know. First of all, you'll notice my walls, which are horrifically boring. It's because we are just in this new house, so I apologize. Next time I will have lights or, I don't know, something up there to make it a little more interesting. Yeah, dude, it's been an interesting transition. We picked up the family and moved from LA to Texas to McKinney, which I'm loving it. The kids, it's a little tougher because it's like starting over. The wife, California native, is I think easing into it as well. But we love a lot about it out here. We obviously miss our friends, but fortunately, dude, I'm busier than I've ever been. So I mean, the idea of always being in LA was like, oh, if you move out of there, it'll be career suicide. And I think a lot of people now are starting to see, just because the pandemic has kind of made Zoom the new mode of every casting, meeting, everything. It just exponentially grew it faster. And it's like, now that Pandora's box is open, there's no closing it. I mean, I just know so many people, from like top level executives to directors, actors and stuff, and they're gone. They're not coming back from California. So I love it. Yeah, it's cool, man. So it's been a cool, we've been here for like a month. And so, you're talking about The Man from Nowhere, which comes out February 9th on VOD and DVD, which is a very interesting one because it's the first one that I've had since my very, very first movie that has no studio backing it and no big P&A dollars backing it. So we're literally, it's as grassroots as it gets, man. We're hustling, dude. So we're reaching out to folks, and it's been great, man. Everyone that I've worked with in marketing, and pastors and ministry leader, like, they're all stepping up and helping me out, which has been really cool.
Awesome.
But it's definitely interesting that, but it's exciting because we're betting on ourselves. It's like, dude, we shot the movie in 8 days.
8 days? Oh my gosh, that's super fast.
Yeah, 8 days. And when you see it, if you saw the trailer, like, the production value is great. I mean, it tells, it's got a whole film noir stylized storyline that it follows. So it's like, I mean, it's quite a feat. And I didn't direct it. My buddy Matt Green directed it, and he smashed it. He was great. He also was producing and wrote it with me. But I mean, so I can't claim the speed of the 8 days, but I will say we wrote knowing we only had 8 days. So, like, that was fun because it was like, here's the locations we can get. Let's make a movie. And then, to be honest with you, it's a lot of the almost like the Duplassian, like the Duplass brothers, where it's like, you don't have a lot of days to shoot. So it's going to be a very character-y piece. So you try to figure out how to keep it interesting because there's a lot of talking going on. I mean, it's just by the nature of how fast you have to shoot. There's no time for blocking and changing and a bunch of different light setups and everything. It's like, yeah, how do we knock this out? And so yeah, man, that was quite a feat. And I'm really excited about it, man. It turned out great. And I'm super proud of it. I mean, when someone says we're going to shoot this movie in 8 days, even though I was already happy with the script, obviously I'm terrified going into that and horrified until I see the final footage that we got what we needed, and we got what we needed. Again, it's cool. Nick Searcy is the lead actor in it. He's great. Seth Bowling is an up-and-coming actor who's cast as Nick's son. It's really the story between the two of them. And it's cool because it also gets, like, in the faith, inspirational crowd. There's not a lot of movies that service like a more of a male audience, and minus a sports movie. Like, obviously sports movies do, but when you get outside of sports, there's not a whole lot about brothers, which we did Run the Race, which I really appreciated, or like father son, but it's like really like getting into it, where it's like, hey man, it's okay to cry or have these feelings or try to make it work out, or sometimes it doesn't work out. But so that's what this is. This is a father. It's actually pretty cool. Somebody, I think it was Bob, one of our other co-producers, he coined it the prodigal father, and it's really about this
Oh,
father coming back into a life and trying to make it work before he potentially is going to pass away.
well, that's an interesting angle on it. Wow, and that is super impressive. It sounds intense as well to be able to, with excellence, pull off a production like that in a short period of time. I mean, wow, that's absolutely amazing.
Well, what's also crazy is we did it in partnership with the Masters University. So all of the
Oh,
department heads were professional industry professionals, but then all the rest of them were kids, like working and trying to figure it out. So it was like we did it in 8 days. Now we had a lot of hands, but we also had people that had never done stuff before on set, and they were trying to figure it out. So again, the fact that it was pulled off is a miracle. I mean, I'm just like, Jesus feeds the 5,000, and then it's like this is like right. I think number 3.
right neck and neck with this
It's real close. I
modern
mean,
day
it's
miracle.
real close with some of the lesser ones, but no, but
Yeah.
it was pretty cool, man. I'm really proud of those guys for all pulling it off. The score is fantastic. Wait till you hear the score. It's like this film noir movie, right? So it's like the
Wow.
score is so specific. And Grant Fonda, he's just this awesome composer. He crushed it. And I don't know, man. Sorry, I keep doing this with my hair. Ever since I've done these Zoom calls, I like realize I'm getting older. My hair just always looks like it's receding, and it's never red. It's just I don't know, man. I think I'm getting super self conscious because of Zoom with my hair.
That's all right. That's all right.
You don't have to worry about that for years, Big C. You're good.
Thank you. Yeah. So, did you come up with the original story concept for this movie?
So it's pretty cool, man. So my buddy Matt Green, who directed it,
Yeah.
and again, comes out February 9th. Please spread the word, all you humans, whoever's watching this. And it was something where it was like, so Masters every year they have a great film program, which is really surprising unless you know of it. Like it's really great and it's growing. But every year they do a very good short film. And in fact, the one before this starred Chris Palaha,
Oh.
who, from project we worked on together.
Yeah.
And so then last year they just said, "Hey man, let's try and do a feature." So there's very limited budget, and we only have 8 days to shoot it. What can we do? And so Matt came up kind of with this idea he had, and we had actually, funny enough, done a film noir short film about a character named Johnny Gamble. And so we kind of took the Johnny Gamble character and we made this fictional storyline that follows along with the father, Nick Searcy, basically is a New York Times bestselling writer who writes these detective novels. But he's estranged from his son, and he's been terrible his whole life with him. But he's really good at writing, and so basically he's writing his final novel, and the son never reads any of them, refuses to read them, and come to find out that this basically is like a love letter to his son about a detective that will stop at nothing to find his son. And so as they reconnect, they still can't work out their stuff. Well, the son starts reading the novel, and it starts playing out, and so you get to watch this detective who literally will do anything and is trying to rescue his son. And it's a pretty powerful, cool the way they start to intertwine with each other. And I'm getting goosebumps. No, I am actually kind of cold for some reason in this house, so yeah, so it was really cool. But the cool thing was what happened. We had a set. We had a Western set. So we had written Western pieces. So it was a Western that it followed. And then like 2 weeks before production, we found out like Showtime took our set. And like, obviously they were being super nice and let us have the set. And so we couldn't do it anymore. So then I had to rewrite all of the Western into a film noir storyline that follows the film noir. So that's what we did. So originally it was about a gunslinger looking for his son going through the Wild West. And then I flipped it and we had to make it this, and it turned out awesome. And so I basically went and saw the locations we had, because we found a studio that had standing sets. So I went and checked them out and said, okay, cool. So we have these 5 locations. I can write to these 5 locations, but we have to make them all turn kind of, film noir. And so that's how that one kind of played out.
Wow. So that's again amazing how you're able to adapt given given those different sets and logistical changes as well, and still have it work and fit congruently. So that's wow. That's yeah. Again, more testament to the miracle
Right.
to this movie. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Um, so you're saying this is a grassroots type of production, like so
Dude, it's as grassy as it gets, man. We have no money for P&A.
yeah.
We're literally, that's not fair. I mean, we probably got like a ham sandwich for P&A. I mean, we'll have like a little bit of bucks at the very beginning just to push a couple online ads. But yeah, man. I mean, it literally is me picking up the phone and be like, "Hey, Gary, blah blah blah. Remember, and calling on my friends that I've made in the industry and just saying, "Hey, man, can you review it? Can you spread the word? Will you share the trailer? Will you, do an article?" And it's been great. Like we've got a lot of people that are stepping up and putting us in, some positions and stuff, and PR people, and Nick's going to go do some shows, some shows for us to talk about it, and Nick Searcy, and
oh, awesome.
so yeah, man. So it is coming together. It's just, again, it's just super scary. It's like, this could be a huge, donut and we just blow it, or it's a good movie. So if word gets out, we could run with it, potentially. So, who knows? Certainly I don't.
Yeah, well, I sure hope that it will be a success, and I know, like, we always learn through all this, but I just totally applaud you and honor you in your bravery, in just pushing through and taking the lead on this. I mean, even in a time of this corona ordeal, I mean, it's just super brave of you. It's like you're like the modern day Braveheart.
Oh my gosh, yes, I really feel like I'm probably a little less heroic than that. There's like real heroes out there, and there's people that got to make a movie and are trying to do it grassroots. I fall in the trying to make a grassroots movie thing. But thank you. But yeah, man. So it'll be interesting. Again, I literally have no idea. We have no idea what to expect. I mean, again, we know we got good traction off of the trailer. Like people were sharing it and enjoying it and liking it, and we know in the screenings we've had, people are responding to it. Yeah, and so again, it's called The Man from Nowhere, themanfromnowheremovie.com, and it comes out February 9th. So we're just trying to keep plugging along.
So people can watch it on manfromnowhere.com.
Well, it'll be on VOD. Like it'd be on VOD sites, so like your Amazon Prime,
okay,
and stuff like that. And then there's physical DVDs, and then for ministries and stuff, if you want, there's a workbook that goes along with it. Like,
oh, great.
Your typical faith package, if you will.
Okay.
And yeah, so, but again, who knows, man? We'll see what happens.
Wow. So, I'm just curious. You've been in this industry for a while, and
I am an old man.
Well, young at heart, and
about it. That's true.
What's that?
I said yes, young at heart. That's about it. That's about only I'm young, but that is true.
Yeah, with a lot of wisdom. Yeah. So, how do you see the future of faith-based cinema? Obviously, Corona has pivoted the industry forcefully in different ways. How do you see just cinema moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like, to even get into this a sub-genre, if you will, or call it that, of faith films, just as like film. And I think we're still trying to figure out how movies are going to look. I mean, we have a movie that we shot last year. This movie with Shonda Pierce called Roll With It that I'm super excited about. I can't wait to get it out there. We were going to do theatrical, then Corona hit, and now we're kind of in a holding pattern. Like, we're not sure. Like, we have an offer to do a theatrical one, but now we're not sure. And so now we're out to streamers, and it's like, I don't know, man. We have another one, this other one with this Dennis Quaid movie called On the Line that I wrote. There'll be I don't know what I can say. There'll be a press release soon, but like, it was gonna be theatrical also. But it's like, now there's different decisions to be made, which is kind of interesting, because it's like, I mean, you do these theatrical or the streamer deals, and you kind of know at least you maybe hit a double, or at least you got a little bit of money back, maybe, or at least your investors are happy. But then the upside is not there, so it's like you can't run with it, But also then the loss isn't there either, right? So it's like, at least you got it, and so it really kind of depends what kind of gambler you want to be. But like right now, there's a lot of room for little movies to come out on theaters, because it's like they need theater. I mean, they need content, and then there's no big movies coming in and taking all the screens, where it's like, Avengers comes out and it's like you go to the theater and 8 screens are showing Avengers and there's room for 2 more movies. Well, like that's not happening right now. So it is an interesting time to see other little movies that, if positioned correctly, get a long run in the theater, which would never happen. Like back in the day, my favorite decade, the 80s, like Karate Kid would come out. Well, Karate Kid would run for 8 months in the theaters, right? Like
Wow.
those movies would come out and they would run, 6 to 8 months, because it's not like now where there's a gazillion movies getting pumped out, and so they would just let them just go until they really, were totally out of juice. And now it's like, the first day your movie goes under whatever 2,000 per screens, it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna start wrapping you up and start closing down your screens because there's 17 other movies that want to come in. I don't know.
Yeah,
so who knows? But I mean, like, it's cool that like Sony just got PureFlix or whatever they're called now, Prospect Point or Pinnacle Peak or whatever, that they changed their name to something.
Oh.
So, like, the idea that like Sony's now, controlling their platform is exciting, and I know that they're looking for projects that are going to be lower budget that wouldn't find a home maybe elsewhere. Because I mean, it's hard, man. Like when I did this movie, I called all my buddies that do these big faith movies that are distributors, and I was like, what do I do with this, movie we shot in 8 days and doesn't have a big budget? And they're all like, we don't know. Like, what do you do with the movie that's small right now? And that's why we're like, okay, cool, put it out. And we do have an offer for streamers for like the SVOD platform down the road that, we want, like I said, we want to see what we can do first. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's cool because there's a lot of opportunity, like with all these other like 24 flicks, and I think there's one called Salt Flicks, and there's all these other little Christian streaming sites. Like TVN even has ones now, but they're only going to offer you, again, a ham sandwich and a handshake for it. But I mean, if you want to get distribution, or like, that's part of it. I mean, at least your movie can be seen, right? So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it all out myself. Who knows?
Yeah. Wow, that's super interesting. Yeah, it definitely seems like the distribution methods and systems are changing, which is causing there to be like a ripple effect in, just how content is, consumed, and then how content is also, delivered, and how that all works, and that being more important than actually the marketing, from what it seems like.
Yeah.
Because distribution is key.
Well, that's the beauty of it too. It's like if your movie gets, if Netflix buys your movie, I mean, you don't need to push a huge P&A spin, because you're not beholden to how many butts get in theaters. It's like they already paid. Netflix is paying for it. It's like good. It is what it is.
Yeah. And I'm curious, do you see yourself in the future, like doing like a TV series of some kind, or are you just wanting to still stick to a movie format?
No, man. I mean, I like to have my hands in lots of little cookie jars. So I've got 2 reality shows right now that are at 2 networks that, again, we find out if we get our series picked up, but I mean, at least they've optioned them and have the rights to them. And we're one of them, when they took us out and had us shoot a presentation reel that they paid for. So we're waiting. We're supposed to find out this month if they greenlight the series. And the other one, we're waiting. The other one's much bigger, and they partnered us with a bigger production company. Now we're just waiting to see what that looks like. So and I've done that. I've sold 4 reality shows before.
Wow.
So I've kind of dipped in that, and then I have a partner right now, and we have a TV project over at Sony. That we've got the pitch deck done now, and it's through the notes at Sony. And I mean, I don't know. I don't get the TV world, to be honest with you. So like, I'm leaning on this dude heavily, but he's great. And so, but it's my idea, and we built it together now. So it's cool. So TV definitely, man. But it's like anything in this industry, it's like you put in a box. So it's like, not only do you get put in a box, like, hey, you're the faith guy, which makes it tough to get other jobs outside of that genre. It's also, you're the comedy guy, or you're the faith inspirational guy. You're not a TV guy. TV is very different, and so it's really hard. It really is very hard to cross over into that world, unless you somehow create your own thing to get your first one in. It's always a chicken and the egg thing, right? So it's like, yeah, you could do TV, but you got to figure out how to get yourself in there first. I've got a great manager and attorney and stuff, and it still is. It's tough. It's tough. So anyway, so we'll see.
Wow.
But yeah, TV is cool, man. Especially with the virtual writing room, right? Like everything's virtual writing rooms now. So I wouldn't have to be in LA, which that makes all the difference. Because that was the big thing. Is like they're like, hey, if this TV show goes, like you'd be in a writer's room, for you'd be gone for 8 months or whatever, just
wow.
doing this whole thing, writer's room, and then shooting all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that would suck. I would not want to do that. But if it's like, hey, while the writing room's happening and all that stuff, if you can do it from your house, cheers.
Wow, that's fascinating. Wow, yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I've got buddies that are showrunners, and like one of my buddies has one of the biggest shows on TV right now, and he's in Oklahoma because Lionsgate told him, you know what, we're not going to have a virtual writer, we're not going to have a real writer's room, at least even thinking about it, until 2022. So he's running his show in Oklahoma. He's even got a show. One of his writers is in Australia. And I mean, really, it's made it like this real cool, like global thing. He's got writers all over the place. Sweet. And they get together and he's like, dude, we meet for 4 or 5 hours during the day and we get way more accomplished than when we were all in a room together. Cause everyone's screwing around and playing grab butt while you're hanging out in the writer's room. And now it's like very focused, task oriented. And honestly, it makes a difference.
Wow. Who would have ever thought, right?
Man.
Wow. So I'm curious, Chris, how do you keep your, creative skills fresh? Like your screenwriting skills fresh, your directing, producing skills fresh, kind of in, different, phases in
yeah.
between, production and such kind of.
That's a good question, man. I'll tell you what, I'm feeling pretty stale right now. To be honest with you, I'm kind of stuck. I've got fortunately, I've got 3 commissioned writing jobs, which is great. But on one of them, I'm very stuck. And so I don't know how to break that right now. I am kind of like every day I sit down and be like, I'll look at the computer for a second, then I'll go check Facebook, and then I'll check Daily Mail, and then I'll check my stocks. I'll do everything to not go back to it, and then I'll go write for like 20 minutes. I'll be like, So I don't know, man. I mean, that's going to be an interesting thing too out here. It was really easy in LA too, because I had a big group of friends that were all in the industry, and there's some very trusted friends I had. And I honestly, I would be like, hey, let's go get coffee. And we would just go, I'd be like, hey dude, here's what I'm doing. Here's this. Right. And to me, that is not the same as Zoom. I don't like that part of Zoom. And so I think that would really help, because like we could sit there for 2 or 3 hours drinking coffee and talking about everything, and suddenly something might click. But I think having a village or a community of people that are in the industry and also going through the same stuff, like when I've got downtimes and I'm talking to my other buddies and they might be at a downtime and they might be at a high time, it's just like knowing we all have the same ebb and flow of the industry. It's like I don't know, man. But I do think it's important to write every day, like as much as you can. Like even if it sucks. Like when I first started writing, I said no matter what, I'm gonna write 5 pages a day, and then I went up to 10 pages a day. So I'd knock out like a first pass of a script in like 10 days, but it might really suck. So like I know one of them I wrote all the way through it, and then I was like, man, this really sucks. But I had made myself just keep writing every day. So then I went back and I go, where did this start sucking? And I went back, oh, page 18. And so I had to throw away 72 pages or 82 pages of writing I had done because I made the wrong turn back then. But it was just I kept writing because that was my thing. And then I rewrote that way. But the first pass, so I still try to do that, where I try to knock out, if I'm serious about it, like writing 5 to 10 pages a day at least, and then knowing it's not going to be great, and then I get the scaffolding up. I mean, and then I can go back and and then I go back and rework it. But at least I can see the beginning and the end and see what's working and not working. But it's because it's a discipline. You got to really make yourself do it. That's the thing I was telling people, is like, it's not, a lot of people aren't like, don't have the skill maybe to write or to get going. It's 99% of people that start to write a screenplay will never finish it. And it's, I mean, it is true, right? Like it's about finishing your first one. It's a trial by fire. That one is going to suck anyways. This next one's not going to suck as bad, and then it's going to start getting progressively better. And then you're going to go back and read that first one that you thought was so good, and you couldn't believe everybody didn't just fall in love, and you go, "Wow, that was terrible." But you keep growing because you keep learning. It really is. It's a trial by fire. You just keep doing it. But I would say most of my friends and the people I know, actors, whoever, start a screenplay, and they get stuck. and they never finish it. I mean, it's always a second act. Most people, when they start their screenplay, they know their beginning and their very end. And it's just like, how do you get there and keep it interesting? How do you build these characters? You know, how do you keep upping the ante? And so I think a lot of people just get jammed up in that second act, and then they bail because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Or you do the other one where you write, you know, you've got this screenplay you started, and as soon as you get stuck on that one, you go, you know what? Oh, I thought of another one, and so you start that one, and that same thing, because you only have the beginning and the end of the next one too. So you start that, and you get stuck on that one, and then you go to it's real easy to have a beginning and an end, and I think a lot of times you start jumping around, and it's just hard to figure out sometimes that middle or how you get there.
Yeah, wow, that's super interesting. And I'm just curious, like, when it comes to like the hero's journey, as a story archetype type framework, like, I, what are some of your thoughts on that? Like, as far as just, it's you're talking about the three act structure before and that middle part, but like the hero's journey is where there's like different phases, kind of like that transformational part of the unknown when it comes to what is known when he accepts his call, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think the most boring hero's journey in the history of cinema is probably the tired and true trope of the faith hero journey, who basically is super flat. And the first act is the man who has walked away from his faith. The second act is the sermon, and the third act is, "Hey, I'm back and better than ever." So the faith space, I think, bugs me a lot because they just a lot of times it doesn't go into. There's just no depth to it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I don't know. I mean, I also would say I'm not a very technical writer. Obviously, as I'm saying, like I just kind of vomit up 10 pages every day to get going. Like, there's certainly not a lot of technique. It's funny for me too, because a lot of times when I'm writing and it's like a paid gig, they'll be like, "Oh, what's the third act break? What's the midpoint? What's this?" And I'll be like, I'll have to write the script, and then I go back and kind of almost invent the act break and go, "Okay, cool. Right around here, I feel like this will be my act break." When in reality, an audience, it's what's so funny, like 95% of an audience, if you said, "Hey, what was the show me, what were the two act break? What was it?" And they wouldn't, I mean, they couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. Or they give you 75 different answers. So it's kind of a thing we do. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just kind of like what's always been done, or, it's like the 5 act or whatever. But in reality, I just think it's like, I don't know, man, is the story good? I mean, like, is it building? Okay, cool. Like, do you have to have this one thing happen at the midpoint? I mean, like, it gets real technical. Like with my management company, I mean, there's sometimes where they'll literally, I mean, they have this paperwork sheet where it's almost like some kind of binary number, like, system where it's like, and it's like, page 45 should be this page, and they're charting it, like they chart it on this graph, and it's like, and I'm like, geez, like, I don't even know what to do with. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, I just want to cut and paste then over here, so now we're right where your number says it should be. So I don't know, man. I think you can get. I think it's good to probably write for like the 3 acts or the 5 acts if you feel it.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, like, if you're forcing it or something, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. When you're forcing it, doesn't seem to really flush out what is needed to create more of that meat for the story itself. Is what I'm hearing you say. And I'm just curious, do you use like any like note cards or like anything to kind of look at like a bird's eye view of the story? You're mentioning this, you're not as technical, and there's some other, you saw them being super technical with it, or you just kind of like just write it out.
Yeah,
and that's how you flush it.
Yeah, I just feel it out. It is funny though. I will say this: how many times, again, I mean, there's multiple projects where one of the steps they're paying you for is like a beat sheet or some kind of outline, and then that always is like, and I hate those more than anything, because that is always like, what is the act break? What is this? Like, da 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 da. I'm like, oh, and it's funny because sometimes I will, like, if they'll give me 2 weeks to turn in, or 3 weeks to turn in the outline, sometimes I'll just jam out the first draft of the script and then go back and fill in the outline and go, oh, okay, cool. Here's this. But I mean, I don't really do that. But I mean, again, I think it's a great idea and a great discipline if it helps. It just, for me, I get so caught up in trying to do all that I think I almost sometimes. Now that said, I have done it before, and then I did. The script came out like, quickly. Like it was like, I mean, I write pretty fast anyways, but I mean, it was just like, I was like done in, days. You know what I mean? Like, but it's because it was all there. Like, so I get it. I'm just somebody, I just need to write. I just need to start writing. I don't know. And by the way, it doesn't mean it's good. Like I said, I'm just feverishly writing, but it doesn't mean that. I mean, I go back and read it all the time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gross. Like I can't believe I wrote this.
Yeah, it's like you're able to embrace the journey and don't worry about the destination, and just just embrace the process as much as possible.
Well, and again, what I was about to say, and I forgot to say, was like, I think it's funny how many times now I go back and I'll be like, cool, like I wrote the story, and then I go, oh look, that is funny, right around page 33, like that, even though it wasn't intentional, like that, because it's just a natural flow. Like, okay, that would be the first act break. Oh, right around 65 here. Oh, look right here. This is actually the second act. Okay, and it kind of actually works that way. But again, not because it was some technical pre-thought out thing. It's just because at this point I've written so many scripts that like I think the flow of the story just happens fairly natural in that way, and you kind of feel like, oh, this is where this should be, even if it's subconscious,
Yeah, for sure. And what is your creative, inspiration? What inspires you creatively?
Your gorgeous man beard right now. This is my first time actually to see you with beard. It is stunning.
Thank you, Big C.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yes.
You're welcome, buddy. I don't know, man. I mean, I just like I want to make movies that make a difference. You know what I mean? Like have subject matter that makes a difference. I mean, but also there's some fun ones. Like I have a like a popcorn action movie that I thought was just about to happen that is not as of right now, and I've got a horror film that I really want to do that has no deeper theological meaning or no social meaning other than it's just kind of fun. But in general, though, like the things I gravitate towards too, and the things that flow my way generally are inspirational movies, movies that deal with faith, movies that deal with obviously special needs at this point. I mean, Priceless was with sex trafficking, so I like things that have a cause to it. I mean, and especially speed stuff really is very important and near and dear to me.
Oh, wow. Actually, can you repeat the last part? Somehow you were glitching a little bit. What was the last
I just thought special needs is something that is near and dear to me. So like, I'm always looking for opportunities to put characters into projects that have special needs, or anything about individuals with special needs. I'm always going to gravitate and be excited about that. Yeah, man. Again, and Where Hope Grows is still my favorite film I've done, and probably will be for eternity. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen Where Hope Grows, I highly recommend it. And make sure you get a box of Kleenex nearby as well.
Right.
And so amazing film. And I'm just curious, Chris, like what are some of your films that like you like gravitate towards, like you were to watch, and like what are some of your like top films?
This is the worst question for me because I'm not serious, because I'm an 80s fanatic. And if I was on a desert or whatever, a desert island with no one else, and they said, hey, you can only take 10 films, they're all from the 80s. So I mean, probably my favorite movie of all time is Stand By Me. I love Stand By Me. I love coming of age movies, so that one is probably to me the best one out there. And I'm very emotional with music. Like so like I watched Stand By Me as I was 12 years old, and I remember watching it, and I remember being blown away. And so I think there's that emotional like connection there of being in that age and watching that film, I don't. I mean, it's because when people ask me, "Who's your favorite writer? Who's your favorite director?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. I love Adventures in Babysitting. I know that. No, but I mean, honestly, man, like anytime, and I'll tell you this: the other thing I do, I'm the opposite. Me and I've got another buddy of mine, and we love, and this is why I never get anything accomplished watching movies or Academy Award. When I gave up, though, I'm going everywhere with this. I gave up when the movie Crash won an Academy Award. That movie was like literally, I was blown away that movie was even nominated. And then I said, you know what? I don't even care about movies like this anymore, critically acclaimed movies. So what I was gonna say is my buddy and I, we always watch like bad movies. And so I actually enjoy that a lot more than trying to film some like artsy, fartsy, something movie. And so we have a long list, dude. And when we get together, we'll find, Samurai Cop or Miami Connection or Cyborg Cop, lots of cop things. You can almost stick your adjective in cop. Birdemic. I mean, I know you've seen Birdemic, right?
I have not actually. No.
That one's kind of a layup. Everyone knows that one. It's pretty amazing to watch. But anyway, so it's like I love watching those movies. But the only rule is it has to be an honest attempt, an earnest attempt to make a good movie. And if you go in, so like Sharknado, like that one doesn't count because they're in on the joke. So if it's got to be movies where people had it, and it really plays best in the mid '90s. Like that's kind of the sweet spot because there's a lot of action movies that are just, again, like Samurai Cop is pretty powerful to go watch. I mean, it is amazing how many levels one movie can fail on. And it's fantastic. So yeah, I don't know, man, but I'm trying to think of other things I love. I love Grosse Point Blank. That's probably one of my favorite comedies of all time. Even though, funny enough, I'm an 80s freak, but I don't like Dan Aykroyd. He's in Grosse Point Blank. And then, yeah, man, I don't know. I'd have to. It's one of those things where someone goes, "Hey, have you seen this movie?" And I'll go, "Yeah, I liked it or didn't like it." But when someone goes, "Hey, what's your favorite movies?" I'm like, "Adventures in Babysitting, Grosse Point Blank, Three Amigos," and then all the like, obviously, like Back to the Future, Goonies. Like, I mean, the '80s really appeal to me. I love everything about them, and that's why even like Roll With It, the movie I did with Shonda Pierce, it's coming out. Dude, it has such an '80s vibe. Like, it's my dream to do '80s movies. I wish I was alive then to be able to do them, but it's a karaoke movie, and so like I loaded it up with '80s music, and just the feeling of it, like the broad inspirational comedy. We don't have to overthink it in the way it plays. It just plays like this fun little '80s comedy, and that's, dude, that was just like, it was beautiful for me.
Wow. Well, wow, interesting. Like, it's that you're sticking to the movies in the '80s spectrum. I just learned something new about you. That's fascinating. And
I was on
hear that very often.
I was on this one podcast, The Movie Guys. It was great, and on the back on their, and I was physically there, and on the back wall behind their set, everyone would write their favorite movie and sign their names. And and they were like, "Oh, what is it?" And I was like, "Oh, Adventures in Babysitting." Out for that day, we were talking about. I mean, Stand By Me is my favorite, but we had been talking about. And they were like, "Dude, that's the first time, there's very rarely someone come in and write a movie that has never been written on the wall before." And it was like, that was the first.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Wow. And I'm just curious, Chris, like what got you involved in filmmaking and directing, like, from the beginning? I know you have a degree in it too, but like what really like thrusted you into the industry?
I mean, I always liked it, dude. And like, we grew up, we had my dad's big camcorder, and we made, we'd make movies. I mean, obviously, it's much tougher. You just edit in the camcorder because you couldn't do anything. So you had to shoot sequentially, and you would just, we did some fun stuff, man. And just always liked it. And then I moved. My best friend moved out to LA, started working as an actor almost immediately, and to this day has never stopped working. It's crazy. And so he needed a roommate. Came out here, was doing some acting, which was fine and fun, but I really wanted to write. And then so I did a short film. And then, yeah, man, after that short film, dude, I said, I don't want to act anymore. I just want to start writing. And again, that was a 15-year process, you know what I mean, to actually start where I could actually support myself and do that. So it's not like it was some great, like, oh, cool. And then I sold this great spec script for, 6 figures. It's like, no, it sucked for a long time. And fortunately, my wife stuck with me and said, "Hey, you got this." So, but again, and now it's crazy. Now I'm busier than I've ever been. And, there's stuff that's lining up after the stuff that I got to get through now. And I mean, I just hope and pray that continues. And if it doesn't, I'll figure it out. I'll press on. There's plenty of days I wake up and I say, "Man, I should have sold insurance," because there's definitely years where there's not a lot of money that comes from Dowling household. So that's the nature of being an independent filmmaker, especially in the faith space,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning and and you have that screenplay to write. Like, what do you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning?
Well, usually, a lot of times I'm excited about it because a lot of times I'm thinking about it during the day and I'm ready to go when I wake up. Again,
Right.
unfortunately, right now I've got one where I'm just like, ugh, I can't figure out how to. I mean, I'm on page 96. It's like I'm
Mm.
creeping. I just can't figure it out yet. So that day, these days, I'm waking up and going, what else can I do besides work on that?
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had creative roadblocks before. Like, what do you like? Do you just keep writing? You keep pushing, or
Yeah,
do
I'm
you?
just saying, even if it's well, you know what I tend to do is I keep going back and starting at. So I'm like, all right, cool. If I can't figure out how to make the ending better right now, I'll just keep going back to like page one and reading again and keep making everything else better up until that point. And I figure at some point I'm going to run out of doing that, and I'm just going to have to, But it's good because at the same time I am making it better. And sometimes I'll hit on something and I'll be like, oh, dude, I could pay this off later. Or I could do this, or if I did this. So I think it's just about getting back in the story and keep running through it and making all the parts better that I know are there,
Mm.
and then hopefully hoping that leads to figuring out how to, you know, land this plane.
Right, right, on the runway with no injuries, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
With the landing gear stuck and no pilot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chris, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we close?
No, just go to manfromnowheremovie.com and purchase 17 copies apiece. And I don't care if you use them as coffee mugs or gifts to friends or whatever they may be. Yeah, no, just going and checking it out and checking out the trailer, see if you'd even dig it. But it's a good flick, and it's important to support people that shoot movies in 8 days.
Yeah, which is absolutely outstanding. Yeah, so everyone go to manfromnowhere.com where you can learn more about the movie and purchase it. And then, as Chris said, it'll be on all the VOD platforms. I'm sure Amazon and iTunes and the like. So, um, yeah, I'm just super excited for just what else you're going to produce, Chris, and write. And you're a true inspiration to many of
Okay.
us, and I know for me especially. And it was just such a pleasure to be on set with you. Like 4.5 years ago with Run the Race, and yeah, that was an amazing time, and I'm thankful that we're able to continue to stay in contact and to yeah, just for you to be on tonight. Thank you for your time and for sharing more of your background and your process and creativity and this new film, which I can't wait to watch. So
Yeah, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you, buddy. It's good to see you again, man. Like I said, you're right. It had been a while since I had seen Mr. Big Jim Slade again in person. So
yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, well, thank you everyone for watching, and yeah, please check out the trailer. And I'm sure the trailer is on YouTube, right? And
yeah,
where can
yeah, it's on YouTube. I mean, it's on my Facebook page somewhere, and it's on the Man from Nowhere's Facebook page. Although there is a Korean movie, The Man from Nowhere, very different, very different.
okay.
So ours has Nick Cersei, not some famous Korean actor. Just yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so everyone take note of that. So okay, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you Chris for your time and for being on with us, and thank you everyone for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you everyone. Have a great night.